Welcome to Linda's Corner. My name is Linda Bjork, and today we're going to be talking about money and how to recover from bad financial decisions and how to recover poor credit. I am so excited to welcome special guest Al Jones. Al is the author of My Journey from Bad to Excellent Credit. Al has also served honorably in the U.S. Army, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your service.
My pleasure, Linda.
And thank you for being here. So, Al, in your book, you share your personal story of hitting rock bottom financially. And I thought it was interesting that the problems came kind of from two different sources. One source was some personal responsibility issues when you made some poor decisions. And another source was being a victim of identity theft. And that part wasn't your fault at all. So as we talk about finances, there can be a lot of different reasons why we struggle financially and why we would need to repair our credit. And I think that this is a very timely message because with the pandemic, I think that has affected so many people financially. And I think there are a lot of people who are in need of repairing their credit and putting themselves back on their feet financially. So again, thank you. This is a timely message. So can we talk about the personal responsibility aspect first and then maybe some of the other things? What were some of your decisions that ended up hurting your financial health?
A lot of it started when I was in the military, my first active duty assignment, without going back to the whole childhood and thinking that as long as you've got, we'll say, a check in your checkbook, there's money in the bank, and you're just trying to ride it out, floating checks, and thinking that that was a good practice. That's one thing. But in general, a lot of it started when I was in the military, first active duty assignment when I was in Korea. Growing up, I was a mother's boy, if you will, and most of the time, my mother and my elder sister were making a lot of, we'll say, hard decisions for me, if you will. And I really didn't have to think too much for myself as a young boy. Like, well, okay, so what should I do, Mom? She gives me some answers, and I just run with it. So being able to be away from home full time, then I had to make some decisions on my own. I was lonely. I was in Korea, and the loneliness really got to me. The other thing, and to combat, no pun intended, to combat the loneliness, what I would do is I would buy gifts to friends and family back in the States. Okay. So somebody needed a Gucci purse. Somebody wanted a Louis Vuitton purse. Well, the gravy train is going to keep going. I want to be in the military forever and ever. And I would send a lot of gifts to them. I would loan people money and thinking the gravy train was never going to stop. Well, the gravy train eventually did stop, and it caught up with me.
It's interesting. When you're mentioning the things that you were doing, they all come really from a place of kindness. Like you're trying to do nice things for people, you're trying to give gifts. And it's interesting how even our attempts at being kindness without having a little wisdom behind it can kind of get us twisted up. And I also really appreciated your talking about your parents and your family and your growing up and what you're used to. I think that plays a big role in our financial expectations and the way that we think things are supposed to be. And it creates generations of problems because we figure the way we grew up was the right way. It's the way we knew. And then you just keep it going.
And growing up, one of the things that I experienced after my mother and father split, my mother had worked multiple jobs, and mom and dad split. They got divorced. And I was the caretaker, per se, of the home. Mom was working multiple jobs. Sister was working multiple jobs. Brother was off riding his bicycle. So someone had to take care of the house. So I was the person that was taking care of the house. My mother was not financial, just going to put it out there. Mom was not financially savvy. So,
Okay.
okay, mom was not financially savvy. She would buy, and she may have been depressed because of the whole divorce.
Right.
So she would buy purses, hats, dresses. Well, okay, the mortgage, we can float it for a month, maybe 2 months. The water bill, the electricity, we can float it for a month, 2 months. Well, eventually that stuff's going to catch up with you. So while she's out working multiple jobs, what happened was the phone would just constantly ring off the hook. While they were out, I was at home. I was the one that was picking up the phone, responding to the bill collectors. And back in the late 70s, early 80s, collection agencies were absolutely brutal. They would call you, say unkind things. You need to tell your mom she better pay her money, now, and that's being very gentle. So here I am, a little young boy, trying to figure out what is going on. Why are they being so mean to my mother?
Right.
Okay, so what I would do is I try to comprehend what's going on. I'm writing all the notes down. Okay, Mr. Smith called at 7 p.m. and he's calling in reference to the balance due of X. Okay, so I'm jotting all the information down. Mom would come home. Mom, Mr. Smith called. I've got a little notepad. Mom, Mr. Smith called, said you had a balance of XYZ, and he would like for you to call him back. Whether she did or not initially, who's to say? After a while, I started to realize that if I gave the impression to the bill collector that was calling that I was actively listening to what he or she was saying and taking copious notes of what was going on, and that I followed through and made mention to my mother that that person called, then they were a little more kind to me. It's like, okay, he's responsible. He's actually relaying the message to me. And then for the most part, I was able to negotiate settlements, if you will. It's like, okay, I'll let her know. And she's working. I'm talking to the bill collector. She's working really hard. Can you call back this time? Can she pay this amount? So I was kind of, to some degree, kind of negotiating collection settlements for my mom and just trying to keep a roof over our heads.
So how old were you when you were handling this?
This was junior high.
Junior high. You were gaining
right.
These skills.
I was getting it right.
That is incredible. And I think this is a skill that's super important, because when bill collectors call, how you respond matters.
Indeed.
And sometimes you can negotiate and work with things and help. And if you sound belligerent or like you don't care, then they're going to talk louder to try to say, get this in your head that you are in trouble. Right. Whereas if you can get them to be compassionate, say, man, I'm doing my best, we're da-da-da. And then if you actually follow through so that they believe you. So I can't believe that you had to handle that at such a young age. So
and
well done.
It's a control. I discovered it's a control thing. If they call and they scare you, you need to tell her she needs to pay this money right now. And you started crying. It's like, okay, I can keep it going. I can keep drilling. I can keep drilling and keep drilling and make their life absolutely miserable. But if you call with the position of, okay, I'm ready to take whatever you present to me and work to my ability and talk with a position of understanding and willing to work with them, then it's like, okay, well, they'll come back to you and say, oh, all right, I'm talking to a little kid, so maybe she is working multiple jobs. Maybe this is really going on. Hey, Mr. Smith, I let her know she's at work right now. And Mr. Smith, I did tell her this, and I'm playing messenger boy. She really did get your message, Mr. Smith, and I'm just wanted to let you know that she will pay you X amount on this date. Is that okay? Wow. Did you really tell your mom? Yes, sir, I did. Yes, sir, I did. And she will pay this amount. Is that okay? Oh, okay. And so it's a position of control.
Wow. That's quite a lesson learned at such a young age.
And I had thought that was the norm. That okay, you grew up, you watch TV, you watch shows like Good Times, where everybody's struggling to make ends meet, and you think, well, okay, well that's how it's supposed to be. And other shows where the family's all happy and jovial and everything's all copacetic. That I couldn't relate to that.
That's the other guys.
That's the other guys. It's supposed to happen to somebody else. But Good Times, hey, I can relate to that. I can relate to the struggle. I can relate. I can relate to that. So fast forward when you follow the same kind of patterns, irresponsible spending. You go to college, and when I was attending college, when you're signing up for classes, oftentimes, at least back then, back in the early '80s, the credit card companies, the Citibanks, Discovers, where I attended college at one time, used to have these long conference tables. And what they would do is have their credit card application right on the table while you're doing other stuff. And you know what? If you sign up for this credit card right now, you can get a free toaster, or you can get a free T-shirt. And you're filling out all this stuff, and wow. This is
cool. All this
cool.
Free stuff.
Yeah, all this free stuff. And then you get the credit card in hand, $500 credit line. You get the credit card in hand, and then you're thinking, wow, man, I could take all my friends out. And then you're the big man on campus. You're taking your friends out to lunch and blah, blah, blah. And then next thing you realize, wow, I've got to pay all this stuff back.
Dang it.
So it was an ongoing cycle. And then one day, fast forward many years later, I realized after lots of struggles, reading multiple books, multiple DVD, watching multiple DVDs, listening to multiple CDs, it occurred to me that sleeping on the floor, sleeping on the couch, working multiple jobs, it occurred to me that this is not how life is supposed to be. I'm tired of being hungry. I'm tired of going into establishments wanting to buy things on credit. And they just kind of look at you and run your credit score, and it's like, sure, you want to buy something, sir. Well, what's wrong? It's like, well, look at your credit score is like a 500 or something. And it's embarrassing, the repeated rejection. And what I was doing was, in the process, I was documenting the journey, if you will, of what it took to get to where I am now. And I had read multiple books, and oftentimes the books that I was reading, they would be just stacked with fluff, 200, 300 pages. The CDs, 5, 6 CDs. Well, if you read this entire book of 500 pages, you listen to this DVD set, 6 CDs, you can improve your credit. And typically after the first chapter of the book, and typically after listening to maybe the first CD or watching the first chapter of the DVD, you said, what? I'll never get through this. There's no way am I going to ever be able to improve my credit. So, of course, you've already purchased the item, so that's good for them that they're going to get the money in hand. But you, as a person that are trying to improve yourself, that's bad on you. So what I decided to do was to write a book, a chapter in length, because it took me a chapter per se to get to the point to where it's like, okay, I'm done. So, all right, my brain can only handle a chapter in length. So that's why current book is roughly a chapter in length, about 50 some pages, from cover to cover. And when you do the audio book, it's about 45 minutes or so. So just enough to handle a chapter in some of the more fluffy books, and about a chapter, if you will, in the DVDs.
So just keeping it simple. I like the idea of keeping things simple because when you're in a place of struggling and someone gives you all these pie in the sky expectations, it seems so overwhelming that you can't even take a step. And I love the idea how you asked in your book some questions to kind of verify, okay, where are you? What are some of your habits and what are the good things and what are the bad things? A lot of people don't understand. You buy your books or your CDs or your DVDs and you think that somehow information and knowledge is going to save you and change everything. And the truth is, it doesn't. Application is what changes things. We have to change our behaviors.
That is correct.
We can't just listen to a CD and then all of a sudden everything is, you check your credit score and say, oh, look, now it's all better.
Read the book, right. Right. So yeah, it can be a challenging. Of course, those that sell the fluffy books is great for them, but those that are in the struggle, that are trying to improve their stuff, you got to give it to them in bite-sized pieces. Try to keep it as simple as possible. So that's what I try to do with what I'm doing. In addition to the other stuff with the show, with the advice column, just kind of help people and give them nuggets of information to move forward in life, even on a small scale.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so let's put a scenario here. Somebody's going through this COVID thing. They've lost their job. They've fallen behind with some payments. Let's have a nugget. Where do we start? What do we do?
Okay. If by chance somebody is believes they're falling behind, or we'll say they're falling behind, first thing I would do is I would have them to contact the people that they owe money to, the credit card companies, whoever they owe, the lenders, whoever they're owe money to. Get on the phone, I would recommend, and let them know, okay, Discover Card, okay, Citibank customer service person, I'm falling behind because of XYZ. And oddly enough, if you let them know that you're falling behind, that will make a world of difference. When you run, you hide, you don't return the calls, that's when the red flags start going up, and that's when they start getting really nasty with you. So let them know, hey, this is what's happening. Full disclosure, this is what happened. I got fired last week. I really want to work with you. Can I pay a small fraction? Can I pay just the interest on what I owe? I want to work with you, but I'm in the position right now where I can't.
That's fantastic. So own it and be proactive.
That is correct.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, I love that. All right. And what resources are available if somebody needs some help?
They can call me if they want. Also in the book, in my book, they can get the information. A lot of the information on the book is on Amazon. My Journey from Bad to Credit, audio. It's Kindle and paperback as well. So I've got a lot of resources that are there. In addition to do the whole personal finance stuff, I've got an online advice column.
Oh, wonderful.
Called Confessions from the Quarantine, where I get people to send in their daily problems about life, love, relationships, whatever. And then in return, what I provide is a common sense solution. So I get all dressed up. If you're familiar with the show Saturday Night Live, Father Guido Sarducci, maybe.
Uh-huh.
I'm dating myself. So anyway, it's like a priest. So I'm dressed like a priest with a gaucho hat, cigar in hand. And so it's like a Father Guido Sarducci meets Dear Abby.
Oh, nice.
So that's what I'm doing.
Very nice.
During the weekends, just kind of getting all that stuff edited. So
anyway. You know all the things. You have all the answers, huh?
Pretty much. And I provide a common sense solution. Just some real general stuff that sometimes people need somebody outside of the basic scope to help them make a decision about simple stuff.
Right.
So what I do is I just provide a common sense solution for them. Typically, I do it a week in advance. They'll send their problems to me, and then the following week, I'll reply with a solution.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It's interesting to me how uncommon common sense is. So thanks for bringing a little common sense into the world. And I'm glad that people are looking to you for some common sense or even willing to listen to common sense.
Yeah, because again, most of the times you get people that need somebody outside of their basic scope to give them some general guidance. You don't have to give them the answer from A to B. And many times they don't want the full answer. They just give me a little nugget because I'm at a crossroad and my mother says this, my sister says this, but they know me too well. I need, again, something outside of that scope, which, okay, well, my family would have normally said do this and I probably would have listened to them, but give me some other perspective. That's the word.
Excellent. Give you some other perspective. So, a lot of people, and you talked about how the natural response for a lot of people when they're struggling is to run and to hide. They feel anxious. Just the idea, even the topic of money makes them feel anxious. So, are there any ways to kind of help calm that down so that you can go ahead and own it and move forward? What would you say to somebody who's just feeling all anxious, like they want to run and hide?
That you are not alone in this process. That's probably the big thing is you're thinking that, okay, nobody understands me. I owe X amount of dollars, whether it's because of my poor decision making or something dramatic happened in my life. You're not alone. And if you own it, you let your lender know this is what's going on. That will be a lifesaver for you.
Wow. Okay, so just take a deep breath, count
Take a
down
deep
from
breath.
5, and
You're
just
not alone.
do it.
Yeah, just do it. You're not alone. And do the full disclosure. Do the full disclosure with them. Tell the customer service rep what's going on, how many kids you have, blah, blah, blah. Just open yourself up and share your trials and your tribulations with them. Because the person on the other side, yeah, they're working with the bank, but they may be just a paycheck away themselves from losing their job, from losing all kind of stuff. So they may have some sympathy for you and say, okay, you know what, Al, I know you lost your job and my brother lost his job too. So, all right, here's what we're going to do for you. And just say please and say thank you. Please work with me. I'm willing to work with you.
Oh, that's
You'd be
nice.
surprised.
So assume that the other person on the other end of the line is going to be a human with some compassion.
Okay, for that what you can do is when you go through the menu tree, is when they go through the whole menu tree, press star. That's one of the IT things. Press star when you're going through the menu tree, and what that will do is that will override the menu tree, and then it'll say, okay, please hold for a customer service representative. And then when you do that, then you can kind of give them the whole story. Talk slow, talk rational. Have your notes with you on your spiel on what you're going to do when you talk to the customer service rep. Don't ramble on, but just kind of give them the basic stuff so they can kind of get an idea what they're working with.
And do you sometimes kind of make an offer and say, I know I owe this much, but if I can pay this much this month, can you work with me? Or do you come kind of with a plan in mind of your little token whatever?
So and that's one of the ways I was able to get a lot of debt settled with collection agencies. So let's say I owe X amount with a company and it's in collections. What I used to do is I would contact the collection agencies, because typically by the time it goes to a collecting agencies, it's dead paper. What they're trying to do is trying to collect as much information, as much money from you as possible, because the original lender has pretty much written it all off and took some sort of settlement. So they'll kick it over to a collecting agency. Collecting agency will try to collect the amount that they got from the original lender plus some. So what I did is I contacted the collection agency and said, okay, Mr. Collection Agency person, I owe $1,000. if I pay you, because I could just ignore it entirely for 7 years and not return your call. So I owned it. And I said, all right, Mr. Collection Agency person, I owe 1,000. If I pay you 700, if I pay you $500, will you take this ding off each one of the three credit reports, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion? Okay, because all they want something from you. So, all right, Al. All right, so they'll agree, and then I said, all right, what I'll do is I will put this in writing, reduce it to writing, put it in writing, and get the confirmed agreement that Al will pay collection agency X amount by day X, and in exchange, they'll do A, B, and C. Once that's unlocked, then I make the payment as agreed, and then a couple of days later, boink,
Wow.
all the bad stuff is taken off your credit report. Does it work for all collection agencies and lenders? It may, but that's another option to consider.
I like that. And you specifically asked them to go to the credit reporting agencies and to make that change.
Yep.
So you were
Take it
very, very
Take it off.
proactive.
If you want your money, take off. I'm willing to give you my money. Well, the money I owe. I'm willing to do that if you do this for me. I'm willing to work. Like, we're going back to I'm willing to work for you, work with you.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for me to work with you, this is what I want in exchange.
Wow, that's beautiful. And you get some really nice responses that way.
Yeah, you really do. Reduce it to writing, whether it's an email, a fax, or however the collection agency rep wants the correspondence.
Beautiful.
And
Okay.
it worked like a gem.
With that insight and how proactive and awesome you are, it's kind of surprising that you fell down that road in the first place. Was there something that was a turning point that made you say, hey, wait a minute, I could do this?
It was back in 2005, roughly 2005, after sleeping on the floor. I had a one room apartment, sleeping on the floor, sleeping on the couch, working multiple jobs, doing the old taxi driver thing as a side gig. And Linda, I just got tired. It's like, Al, this is old. This is really, really old. How old are you? Come on now. So I said, all right, love, yeah, this is old. And you know what? All right, I can make a change. So let me document this so someone who's going down a similar path don't have to go down a similar path, the entire path that I did. They can take some shortcuts to improve their credit profile.
That's fantastic. So now, how long did it take to get from that bad place to be able to fix everything with your awesome credit rating that you have now?
15 years, Linda.
15 years.
15
Dang it.
years.
No shortcuts?
No shortcuts, but doing stuff like contacting the lenders and doing deals like that helped. One of the things I've discovered is that there are services that are out there that'll, quote, fix your credit. I don't know what they do, for a nominal fee, obviously. I don't know what they do to, quote, fix their credit, but those type of services I did not use. Mine was all sending letters, calling them, generating my own personal credit profile or reports, making notes over a long 15 period of time. So it was like, high fives to the 850, to what I have. 15 years,
Well
multiple
done.
jobs, sleeping late and working late, rather.
And now you don't have to sleep on the floor, right?
Unless I want to.
Unless you want to. If
Unless
you're
I want
feeling
to.
nostalgic about the olden days where I slept on the floor.
Right. If I want to fix my back or something, I'll sleep on the floor. But I don't sleep on the floor. And the crazy thing is, during hard times, Linda, to survive, one of the things I did, because I had such limited discretionary income, That's, after you pay off your bills, you do all your whatever, you got your little whatever's left. I had to eat chili and spaghetti for about 3 years straight. Chili one week, a pot of chili, and the next week I'll rotate it and do spaghetti. And every now and then I would treat myself to some chicken. I would go to the store. Right. I would treat myself to an eight-piece batch of chicken. For breakfast, I may have a wing. For lunch, I may have a thigh, and would do that over an extended period of time. And what's crazy is that to this day, I absolutely love spaghetti. I can eat lasagna. Oh, spaghetti, lasagna. Oh, although I had to eat it every single day, I had to find something that I could eat every day and not go crazy. And pasta, spaghetti, that red sauce just calls me. So for lunch, for the most part, every day for lunch, I'm eating a lasagna soup and absolutely love it.
That is impressive that you can do that and still love it.
And still, I love it. I love lasagna.
Oh, I like lasagna too. That's good stuff. I like lasagna more than I like spaghetti. But I'm glad that you like spaghetti because that got you through some tough times. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for all the things that you've been able to accomplish and the kind of the chain you've been able to break and change and move forward and be able to not only do it for yourself, but to help pay it forward so that other people can get out of that. And I like that it comes from a place of experience and understanding. It's not one of the, millionaires trying to say, this is what you should have done. But somebody is saying, I have been there. I've lived this and there is a way out and things can be okay. You just kind of got to grab the bull by the horns and you can do this because I did it and you can do it.
And as you going back to the whole millionaire thing, there's some people that are out there that will say that you should pay off all your debt. You should be totally debt free. My angle on it is that debt can be good. And the whole credit thing is like a report card. It's all based on trust. Somebody is trusting you to pay off X amount of dollars over a period of time. So it's a report card on how you handle your money. When you pay off everything, that trust goes away. So they have nothing to grade you on. So that's the angle that I go with my side is it can be good, but just learn how to manage your debt. In God we trust. So it's a trust thing.
I think there are a lot of people who feel kind of the same way that you do. They don't have that goal of being out of debt. They have the goal of being able to manage. Right. And isn't it great that there's more than one way to do things? I'm kind of on the no debt side of things, but not everybody thinks the same way that I do. And that's okay. Isn't it wonderful?
My thing is good luck buying an airline. How do you get an airline ticket? With cash. I have yet to see anyone actually go to a counter and pay cash for an airline ticket.
Well, during the whole COVID thing, cash was like a non-thing.
Right.
You had to use credit cards or debit cards. They work pretty well too.
And the thing with the debit card, which is all tied in to cash, with the debit card, often what they'll do is they'll put a huge block on your checking account. You're paying a $100 airline ticket, and they'll put a $500 block on your debit card. That's not good. So if you have a credit card, you don't have to have a large amount, but just like we'll say $500 credit limit. If by chance if you have emergencies where you need to take a plane trip somewhere, you can put it on your credit card, pay it off a couple of days later, and you're good.
So I don't have any problem with that, especially if you're going to pay it off right away.
Yeah. And that's what, oddly enough, that's what I do. When I go to the grocery store, I put everything on credit. I don't care if it's a $2 item, $3 item, boom. It's on the credit card. And when I get home, I pay it off right there. Every now and then, I'll let it float for the next cycle so they can see that, hey, there is some debt that I'm using, but for the most part, it's paid off shortly thereafter.
If you play that game well, there are some advantages that you can have. I have a sister and her kids they live all over the country, and some of them have lived international. And so she did what you are explaining of putting every single thing on a credit card, and the card would that's how she would get her flights.
Reward points. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so they used it just brilliant as just an asset. But again, you have to be careful because you do have to pay them off.
Know your limits.
Right, for sure.
Know your limits. And what I do is I use a card that I don't even worry about the interest rate. You get a card, it's like, well, it's a 19% interest rate, 20% interest rate. I don't care because I want to pay it off anyway. So I use the card on a regular basis, $2 items, $3 items. That starts adding up with the reward points. And then after it gets you X amount, I order, if you will, an Amazon gift card.
Mm-hmm,
so you get gift cards, you get plain, depending on what card that you get. So just leverage it to the hilt.
Nice. So it's absolutely okay to play the game as long as you know you're playing the game and they're not playing you, if that makes sense.
And the thing is, where they get you is you're paying your card, you get the Amazon gift card, and you don't get the full value of what you spent in exchange to how much you get on the Amazon gift card. So let's say you've got to spend $3,500 to get a $25 Amazon gift card. So, you don't get $3,500 worth of points, but you get something. So love's a two-way street.
Here's to love and money.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your wisdom and your experience. And I'm delighted for your success.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you for having me.
In closing, I'd like to share a quote from Dave Ramsey. He said, "You must gain control over your money, or the lack of it will forever control you." Today, I invite you to do one thing to gain control over your money. See you next time on Linda's Corner.